everyone. We're back with another episode of Ask the Landlord with our favorite landlord, Albert Dweck. I'm Melissa. I'm one of Albert's producers and a former New York City, Pittsburgh, Lafayette, Louisiana, and Washington, D.C. renter. And together, we're going to be asking this landlord some questions. If you have a question for Albert, call us and leave us a voicemail on the Ask the Landlord hotline. That number is 646-580-3015. How's it going, Albert?
It's going well, Melissa. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Personally, we're in the home buying process and there's like a lot of new terms I'm learning. And one of them that I had no idea was coming from Miami or I don't know, renting and a sump pump. Can you tell us like what is a sump pump? Sump pump.
Sump pump. Sump pump is usually something that's in the lowest level of the home basement cellar where it catches moisture, water that collects in the lowest level and then pumps it out of the house so that water doesn't flood into the basement. That's typical of what a sump pump is. So sometimes houses, whether they have a basement or not, sometimes houses don't have basements. Sometimes they have crawl spaces. Sometimes they don't have crawl spaces. But usually when homes are built, sometimes people have they're right at the water table. So, how usually topography works is, my experience is that, if you dig deep enough, you'll hit water. Right.
Mm-hmm. So they tell us.
So sometimes your house can be at or near a water table. So sometimes when the groundwater elevates, it can come into your house. Right. Or if it rained a lot and the water and the ground outside your house is all saturated, the water needs to go somewhere. And you don't want it to go into your house. Right. Because that causes mold, dampness, and you want to get that out. So in order to alleviate that or make sure it doesn't happen, people put in sump pumps, which is like usually a dug out part of your basement or one or two of them, it depends on where if there's water that comes into that even below the basement. So like you'll have a basement floor and then underneath, down below the basement floor, there's like a hole. And then that's made to catch water before it comes into the basement. Right. And then pump it out. Right. And usually it should pump into the sewer line, right, of the house. Okay. So funny story about that. I was, crazy. We just bought this house to develop this old house on a large lot, and we're going to make two houses on it. So I went to visit the property, and I get to the property. There's an old house on the property, which we intend to knock down. It happens to be near water. Anyway, so my daughter and I drive up to this house, and there's a fountain next to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the house, to my knowledge, right, is not occupied. We drive up and there's a fountain going on.
How big is the fountain?
The fountain is like 4 feet tall.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. Except I'm looking for how's this working? Like I pull up to the house, we own this property, and I'm like, why is this fountain on? No one's here. What's going on? And I've seen a lot of things. So now I call my business partner and I say, there's a fountain here on, and the water, it's going like in the ground, like off the fountain. It's not being recirculated. I'm trying to look at what's going on. I don't get it. This fountain's going, the water's coming, and then it's going onto the neighbor's property. And then we're like, my daughter and I walk onto the property and the fountain shuts off. And we're like,
spooky.
It's spooky. Is someone in the property? Now we're freaking out. We're like, what happened? Freaking out. So I call my partner and he says, Al, you're not going to believe this. He says, that house is not supposed to have a basement because a basement would make that below the water table. So what these people did was they have a sump pump in the basement and they rigged it to go out through the fountain.
Genius. Wow.
So what we were seeing was the sump pump working through a fountain in the front yard.
So that means there was water underneath that the sump pump was working. So that's a good thing. Very bizarre, but very good.
Bizarre, but good. But also what he told me was, Al, that house is not supposed to have a basement, basically has an illegal basement.